Before we get started in the Dharma talk, please join me in invoking the Buddha's name 3 times. Namo Shakyamuni Buddha. Namo Shakyamuni Buddha. Namo Shakyamuni Buddha. Good afternoon, dear Sangha, dear Venerable Abbot. I am taking a break from the Dhammapada. I am exhausted and did not give myself enough time to go over my notes. So, as you can see, we've been very busy. So instead, what I'll do is what I usually do in between different teachings is just hold a Q&A session. So it's free for all, whatever questions, concerns, emotional outbursts that I don't want to hear about, anything, Buddhism, meditation, sutras, whatever questions your human mind desires to ask. Yes, ma'am.
You go through samsara, you have to, it's like when you don't reach dream level and all that, but how badly do you have to mess up to make it instead of doing repeat samsara?
I am about to. So the question was, I guess just elaborate more on what a hungry ghost is, right? So the question is how bad of deeds do we have to do in life in order to be reborn as a hungry ghost? And what is a hungry ghost? So Buddhist cosmology is extremely expansive and extremely comprehensive, and it's very large, and it's something that I have not myself fully grasped either. The one book that I was able to find on Buddhist cosmology in English is about that big. It's extensive. So I've not gone through it yet, but I will give you 2 definitions of these realms of existence. I will give you my personal belief and what the sutras describe as these realms of existence. And so in samsara, in this cosmic world universe that we live in, there are 31 realms of existence, okay? But the first 6 are kind of the more attainable ones, and then anything after 6, so 7 through 31 are kind of like the heavenly realms, and the realms we are able to reach through deep meditation, etc., etc. So I have a 50-50 belief on these realms of existence, right? So the 6 realms of existence that we typically read about and talk about in the Dharma, the 3 lower realms, which is hell, hungry ghost, and animal, and then 3 higher realms of human, devas, and asuras, or demigods and gods, or sorry, heavenly beings and gods. So I believe it's a 50-50 thing, that they are that they are actual states or realms of existence, like these are something that we can attain to or be lowered to. But at the same time, it's not a 50-50, it's more like a 70-30. So my 70% of my belief is that these are simply just states of mind, okay? That way it takes away from the whole, what's the word I'm looking for? Metaphysical aspect of it, right? That's something out there, it's something down there. It doesn't make sense to us. And so it's more of states of mind. And so when I'm teaching or talking about these realms of existence, I'm purely speaking of them as states of mind because they're more graspable that way. They're more, it's easier to comprehend. It's easier to link in between our own lives, and these states of mind are the realms of existence. And so there's descriptions for each realm, right? And they are the states of mind, the characteristics of beings that put them in these states of mind, aka the realms of existence. And so when we read about hungry ghosts, right, they are described as these super skinny skeletal beings with big bellies and long necks, right? And they're described as hungry ghosts because these are people who are I'm trying to think of the characteristics, jealousy, that are jealous, that are kind of hoarders, that are trying to get things and have things for themselves without sharing. So they lack generosity, they lack compassion, they lack the desire to benefit others other than themselves, right? And so the iconography, the imagery that we get from the sutras of hungry ghosts, especially when we read the Ulambana Sutra during Ulambana, the ceremony, holiday, is that in the Ulambana Sutra where Mahamudgalyana has attained enlightenment and wanted to see where his mother was, right? And so he used his supernatural powers to kind of scan the universe and the realms of existences to see where the mother was. And his mother was unfortunately a hungry ghost in hell. And so when he went and psychically visited her and offered her a bowl of rice, she took the bowl with one hand and shielded the bowl with her other hand so that other beings wouldn't see her and she was trying to eat it, right? Every bite she took, that bite turned into flames and she was not able to actually swallow the rice. And so that kind of helps describe the personality of a hungry ghost, right? They're selfish, they don't want to share, they're ingenuine with their generosity, right? So that's the state of mind that that anybody would go through, right? We've all been in one situation or another where we didn't want to share something. We weren't very generous with our offerings, right? We keep things for ourselves. We try to hoard things for ourselves. We try to hide or not share the merit or the benefit or the generosity with others, right? So these are the characteristics that beings have, that humans have. And then when we see that out in the world, we can say, you're giving me hungry ghost vibes right now, right? But it's the same with all the other ones, because we as humans go through every single of these 6 realms of existence almost on a daily basis, right? Almost. Maybe not all of them, but for the most part, we go through these cycles of these realms of existence throughout our lives. And so if we kind of go down the scale, then we go down to animals. And what are animals? Think of an animal. What kind of characteristics, what kind of personality, what kind of world do they live in, right? They're territorial. They hunt for themselves or for their family. They are we all know what an animal acts like, is, right? So those are the characteristics of beings. And then we go down the last level to hell. We can all probably agree that we've all been in our own personal hell in some way, shape, or form, right? Not every day is a good day. Some days are just hellish and feels like hell, it looks like hell, right? And so these are just the moods, I guess, that we all go through. And so you can think of them, obviously there is a physical realm of animals because we see animals all the time, but so you can either think of them as in these places, these destinations that we can go to, or they're just simply states of mind that we switch in between every once in a while. That's my definition. The sutras, on the other hand, also give both those types, that they are places that are destinations that we are reborn in, but the Buddha also describes them as these are also the states of mind that men go through, human beings go through, right? And so you'll see both kind of definitions here and there. And so they're kind of equal in the sense of being physical things and mental concepts. And the higher realms of human, which is just our regular everyday life, right? The asuras, the next highest, are beings that are fortunate in their life, meaning that they have, or potentially have, or could have everything that they want, right? They don't have to worry about money, they don't have to worry about health, they don't have to worry about paying their bills, but at the same time, they're also hungry for more. They are not satisfied with what they have. They have $1 bazillion, they want quadrillion dollars. They have 5 cars, they want 10 cars. They have 2 houses, they want 5 houses, right? They're constantly wanting more and more and more. And they do things in order to obtain that more and more materialism, right? So they start throwing people under the bus. They started blackmailing you. They start, fraud or whatever it may be, right? They have a good life, but it's just not satisfying enough, and they want more and more and more. The highest realm of devas are essentially those that are exactly like the asuras, minus the wanting the more. And so these are people that do have everything, but they're very generous with what they do have. And so they don't go for more money for themselves. They go for more money in order to help others with it, right? So we can think of people who practice philanthropy, right? Who live their lives for their charities or for their nonprofit organizations and whatnot. And so they are giving. They don't want for themselves, they want for others. Essentially kind of like the same mentality of a bodhisattva, right? We don't want enlightenment for ourselves, we want enlightenment for all sentient beings, and then we'll worry about ourselves at the end, kind of a thing. Does that answer your question? Okay, good. I can tell you for a fact that in the last few days, I've gone through every single stage. You can ask me, Max. They're retreating here for a week, and I've been helpful and sassy all at the same time. What other mentally stimulating questions you have? Yes, sir.
There was something you had said last week about the flow of consciousness from one being to another, that when you pass on to the next life, it's more of the consciousness that follows. And I guess I wanted to get more elaboration onto that stream of consciousness and how that differs from the idea of the permanent self or soul.
Did we already talk about this?
Well, yeah, we talked about it. Other people's opinions too.
Well, that's a very... I'm hesitant to answer that question because that's technically an advanced concept, right? So that type of question, that type of answer of consciousness and the transference of consciousness beyond death is under the category of Abhidharma or Abhidhamma in Pali, which is the Buddhist psychology and the commentary of all the sutras. And so it's very up in that list of heaviness. But I'm going to attempt to simplify the answer. So in Buddhism, in Mahayana Buddhism at least, so the Mahayana Abhidharma, there are 8 consciousnesses. In the Theravada Abhidhamma, there are 6 consciousnesses. But in Mahayana, we have the extra 2 because the first 6 are all our mental faculties, our 6 sense organs and their consciousnesses. The 6 is the 7th consciousness is what we call the store consciousness. And so all that these 6 plus the mind organs and their consciousness that work, right? Their result ends up in the store consciousness, number 7. And so everything that we think, do, and say from all past lives and current life gets stored in consciousness number 7, right? And the consciousness number 8, the alaya vijnana, the alaya consciousness, is the kind of piece that is what transfers from one form of life to another, right? And so it's basically like our end of year statement. Think of it, right? End of year bank statements or end of year your employee review. What is it called? Valuation, right? And so depending on your evaluation at work, I'm going to use that term for work, you may or may not get a bonus, right? Depending on how good or bad you are. You may or not get a raise. And so that end of year evaluation determines what's going to happen for you in the next year. It's going to determine whether you get a bonus, whether you get a raise. Likewise, our consciousness, depending on all the thoughts, speech, and actions that we've accumulated during past lives in this life, is going to determine how you get reborn in the next life, right? And so it's the consciousness that gets transformed, right? The body is simply, this physical body is simply just a hotel, right? You check in one life, you check out when you die, and you check in again the next time you check out. And you continue to do this as this business person, checking into these hotels in different destinations, different locations, until you finally retire, which is your enlightenment. And then you no longer have to check into any more hotels. You're done, you're free. You have done everything you've wanted. So it has little to do with the self, which I won't even touch. That's a whole topic all on its own. But that's the kind of concept of consciousness. Does that make sense? I know that simplifies my answer to your question, but if I gave you a real answer, I would talk about it for probably 3 days. What other enlightening questions do you guys have? Hand it to me. There's no stupid questions, just stupid people who don't ask questions. Are we all enlightened? Yes, sir.
No. So within your 6 animals, where do bodhisattvas fall in that area?
It depends. It depends if they are enlightened or not. If they're non-enlightened, or at least on the verge of enlightenment, they're always inhuman. The human realm is the only realm where a being can become enlightened. Because the Devas and Asuras, even though they are very fortunate, they don't have the motivation to do more because they have everything they want. So they don't have the motivation to want to practice the Dharma. They don't have the motivation to want to attain anything because they have everything they want, right? And so it's only in a human form that anyone can become enlightened. And so for speaking of living bodhisattvas, they would still be humans. But if these are celestial bodhisattvas or past bodhisattvas, they would be beyond the 6th realm. So like Avalokiteshvara, Mahasamaprapta, Kshitigarbha, all these are now celestial bodhisattvas that live in the pure lands of whatever Buddha that they host. So Avalokiteshvara and Mahasamaprapta live in the pure land of ultimate bliss of Amitabha. Kshitigarbha is kind of the rogue bodhisattva. He roams around the hell realms and animal realms and hunger ghost realms, enlightened to enlighten those beings. Manjushri and Samantabhadra are also now celestial bodhisattvas, or they're out in their pure lands as well. But living bodhisattvas can only be in human form. And I hope that we are all aspiring living bodhisattvas. At least we try to be. Yes.
When was Avalokiteshvara first mentioned? Like, where did they come from? Did they interact with Shakyamuni, or were they just kind of like?
Avalokiteshvara. I believe I'm remembering correctly, my time frames, I believe Avalokiteshvara was first mentioned in the Abhatamsaka Sutra, the Flower Garland Sutra, which is one of the oldest sutras also. And then also reintroduced in the Contemplation of Amitabha Buddha Sutra. He, him, her, it, along with Mahasamaprapta, or Great Strength Bodhisattva, also mentioned the Amitabha Sutra. Most other bodhisattvas, except for Shariputra and I can't remember the other bodhisattva. Shariputra is also one of the living bodhisattvas during the Buddha's time. And there was another one that was also living during the time. But most other bodhisattvas, especially Mahayana, are all technically considered celestial bodhisattvas because they were mentioned with other Buddhas in Mahayana sutras. And every other Buddha except for historical Buddha Shakyamuni is considered a celestial Buddha, living in their own Buddha land out in some far, far distant universe, galaxy. But there was only a couple of living bodhisattvas that were mentioned in the Theravada text, the Theravada canon, Buddhist canon. I can't remember who else it was besides Shariputra. It's going to come to me in like the most random time, but yeah. They were, all the bodhisattvas came from either the Abhatamsaka Sutra, Flower Garland Sutra, the Shurangama Sutra, the Lotus Sutra, and the Amitabha Sutras. Those are the oldest sutras out there. Actually, the oldest sutra is the Diamond Sutra. That was the first text that was ever written down. But there are no specific bodhisattvas mentioned in that text, in that sutra, just bodhisattvas in general. So we don't get any names from that sutra. But names specifically have all come from the Abhatamsaka, Shurangama, Lotus, and the Amitabha, the three Amitabha Sutras.
But there are everything that's not modified. There's no totality.
Correct. We don't even have to say that there are hundreds or thousands or millions or infinite Buddhas or Bodhisattvas anyway, because all Buddhas are equally enlightened to the exact same level. So we can say that all Buddhas are the same Buddha. All Bodhisattvas are the same Bodhisattvas. Now, actually I take that back. Because there are levels of Bodhisattvahood, as far as their enlightenment is concerned. So not all Bodhisattvas are technically equal, because some are as enlightened as others, but all Buddhas who have attained Anuttara Samyak Sambuddhi, right, full, right, complete enlightenment, they're all exactly the same. And so when we pray to one Buddha, we're technically praying to all Buddhas, but not so much for the Bodhisattvas. But yes, we can say that there are an infinite number of Buddhas and Bodhisattvas.
They also, don't they, represent archetypal facets of human nature, like Avalokiteshvara is the Bodhisattva of compassion. So we can look at a statue and we're not looking for to give us compassion.
Correct.
We're thinking about the nature of her to bring about compassion within ourselves, right?
Correct. So I've said this several times, right? We can take every statue out of this place. I know this will still be a Buddhist temple, right? We don't have to have statues. If you went to a Theravada temple, they would have one statue of Shakyamuni and maybe 2 disciples, Mahakashyapa and, well, it depends on the tradition, but usually Mahakashyapa and Ananda would be the 2 side disciples. But the reason why we have several statues, which I'm not always a big fan of, but they give us a kind of physical representation of the characteristics of the bodhisattvas or the Buddhas that they represent. So as Leon mentioned, Avalokiteshvara is the bodhisattva of great compassion. And so when we sit down, we chant, or when we invoke their name or pray, right? Prayer in Buddhism itself is very different than prayer in any other religion, right? And especially in Abrahamic religions. We're not praying to the Buddha or to the Bodhisattva because they're not here. They're not physical anymore. They're long gone. They don't, right? These statues are fibroplastic or fiberglass. Like, there's no one there listening to us. So it's pointless to be like, please give me help. Please give me wealth. Please let me get this job, or let me get over this or that. Like, that's stupid, right? They're not, that's superstition. They're not going to do anything for you. But the reason why we chant and we do pray is not to ask for anything, because you're going to receive nothing. The reason why we chant and pray is that when we do invoke their names, that we are also invoking the characteristics that Buddha or Bodhisattva represent. And so when we're invoking Avalokiteshvara Bodhisattva, we're invoking within ourselves the development, or the desire to develop great compassion, great kindness, loving compassion, right? We're reminding ourselves that we need to put away the defilements of the mind, to put away what is causing us suffering, and to invoke the compassion within ourselves so that we can help ourselves and then help others too. Because if you're moody and bitchy and just in a bad mood, you're not going to be useful to those around you, right? You're just going to bring them down too. And so it's kind of like a domino effect. If you're nice to someone, if you cause someone to smile, then they are in a good mood, and then they will share that good mood with others. But if you attack someone, or you belittle them, or you cause them any sort of discomfort or pain or anxiety, then they're going to use that same energy and pass it around, right? This is why the world's in chaos, because everyone's hating each other constantly, that there's no room to fix everyone. Everyone's ignorant and lazy and impatient. But it's the same thing with other bodhisattvas and Buddhas. And so especially when we look at the image of the Buddha, right, you see, just look at the Buddha. Like, it's the most beautiful thing I've ever seen in my life. This is the type of nonchalant contentness that I want in my life, right? They're just sitting there, they're serene, they're meditating. There's no thoughts of suffering. There's no poisons that they're worrying about. There's no thoughts that govern their thinking or their actions or their speech. And so we want to inspire to be just like these Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. Now, unfortunately, in most Asian countries that are heavy on the superstition, don't necessarily believe what I just said. But that's a very cultural thing. And so I'm not concerned with that. I was like, you want to believe in that? You do you. It's not helpful to me. It won't be helpful to you either. So we have to ignore the representation or the icons of these statues and what we think that they are. I mean, look at the David Garden Bodhisattvas, for instance. Like, one of them looks demonic. Like, that seems very superstitious, kind of, I don't know, culty, I don't know. But the thing with Buddhism is that every single thing has a meaning. So like, I know when you look around, there's a lot of stuff, especially on the altars, right? There's a lot of stuff. But there is a meaning, there is a significance, there's a purpose for each item on the altar. Nothing is just there to be there. None of these statues are here to be here. None of the decorations are here just to be here. There is a reasoning, there is a significance of why they're here. So it's important to know that there is a significance, and it's important to know what they are. Because if you don't, you're just going to superficially look at it and be like, oh, that's a lot of stuff. That's a cool statue. That's an ugly statue. That's a random statue, right? Without knowing the background of it, why it's there, what it's representing, what it's doing, what it's supposed to invoke within you. So the David Guardian Bodhisattvas, for instance, right, the mean-looking dude, think of, just look at it. I want everyone to stare at them. Just stare at this bodhisattva for a second, for a few seconds. Just look at it. Look at its stance. Look at what it has. Look at what it's doing. Look at its features in its face, in its head, in its body, right? If you put yourself in that statue, pretend you are the statue. If you're in that same pose, if you're doing the exact same thing as that statue, what comes to mind? Why would you stand like that? Why would you look like that? Why would you hold what you're holding? Why would you have that pose? Why would you have that position?
Protection.
Standing guard, basically.
Wrong thinking.
It reminds me of the hot dog.
Of what? Oh yeah, I've actually never thought about that until right now. That's kind of hilarious, actually. Exactly. So you're all, every one of you except me, is correct. No, it's standing guard. It's protecting, right? And so he is standing guard and protecting the temple, right? These David guarding bodhisattvas, so they are protectors, they're guardians of the temple, the Dharma. And so they're standing guard to ensure that the bad people don't come around, that they scare off those with ill intentions, those that mean harm or ill will. Now look at the other bodhisattva and do the exact same thing. Look at their stance. Put yourself in their position. Why would they stand like that? Why would they look like that?
Welcome.
And?
It reminds me of the Tai Chi virtue of like grounded, strong.
So they are doing exactly the same thing as far as guarding and protecting, but instead of shooing away the bad people, they're welcoming in those that are wholesome, that have wholesome intentions and good intentions.
So that could also be, you could think of it as us having this David guardian bodhisattvas within our own minds to ward away the bad thoughts, welcome the good thoughts.
Exactly. So traditionally, at least in Chinese Buddhism, these guardian bodhisattvas are usually outside of the temple hall, outside the main temple hall, right, facing outward to the world. We don't have that luxury. So they're inside, but they still they still have the same intentions, right? I don't know where I was going with this. I already forgot it. But I guess history of statues. Oh yeah, prayer. That's right. I mean, even in the sutras, so the Devagarbha Bodhisattvas actually are born out of the sutras, like especially in the Lotus Sutra. I can't remember what chapter it is. I believe it's chapter 22 or 23, where the Buddha describes types of people and locations that a bodhisattva should and should not teach. So there's different types of people that we should not teach to, and people that we should teach to, and locations that we should be teaching at, and locations that we should not be teaching at, right? And so that kind of instruction is what birthed Devagarbha Bodhisattvas. Devagarbha Bodhisattvas are also those that, in human form, are those that do the exact same thing, right? They protect and guard the Dharma and guard the temple. So all of our members are also technically Devagarbha Bodhisattvas, because you are here to protect the temple, you're here to maintain the temple, you're here to take care of the temple and the Dharma and the monastic and the members, right? So you are human form of a Devagarbha Bodhisattva. I mean, you're still Bodhisattvas, but now you're a Devagarbha one too, so good for you. Any other questions? We have 15 minutes.
Is it possible to, especially in today's time, be a Buddhist and political activist to fight for metaphorical fights for marginalized minority people at the table?
You and me, that's all we've been talking about all week, and I'm honestly exhausted. Do you want the Thai country answer, or do you want the Buddhist answer? The Thai country answer will not be, there's children here, so I'm not. How can I PG this? Yes and no. Yes and no, because the Buddha does tell us to try to be apolitical, which I very much am, even way before I was a monk. I was very apolitical. Because think of what politics does to somebody. And I'm going to use Mira as an example here because she suffers so much from politics. And that suffering is 100% caused by herself, right? You may not like what's happening in the political world, but you also have zero control over it. There's nothing you can do about it. You can go protest, you can go call whoever you want to call, you can email, you can write. None of that honestly doesn't matter. It doesn't do anything. Protest just brings awareness, but it doesn't actually solve anything. And it hasn't solved anything in 50 years, right? And so you really have to think about what you're doing, how you're doing it, what you think you may or may not be benefiting or not benefiting. You really have to think through it, right? We do, of course, want to try to have a calm political world, but we already know that's never going to happen unless we get invaded by aliens and they take over and they give us a new government, which I pray for every single day. Or the world just collapses, or we actually do make some change, which also won't happen. So you really have to think about what you have control over, which is very, very, very little, right? And so my mantra, my normal mantra, it is what it is. But the second piece of that is worry about what you can control and let go of what you cannot. Right? Because Mina's over here just listening to news all day long, right? I don't even have to ask what she's listening to. I already know. I know her so well. I've known her for 15 years. I know what she's doing. And I can see on her face how much she's suffering. I'm like, you're just causing your own, like you're listening to things that you have no control over. You're just listening to things that are hurting you, things that you don't agree to, things that you wish weren't so. For what reason? I avoid politics 100% as much as I can. I do my civil duty by going and voting when I need to, but beyond that, I don't care what happens. Yes, sir.
I wonder if the concept of the middle path. So, on the one hand, you can say, I'm apolitical. I'm not even going to let any of this information in my mind. On the other side, you might be a political activist going to super extreme, even violence to bring about change. Maybe there's a way to think about things, to meditate on them, come to an understanding of yourself, realizing that one act is not going to change the whole world, but you change yourself. And then maybe the next time you interact with someone with a different political view, you're able to not get caught in it.
There is no, I can't think of it. I just heard it the other day, but there was a book, it's a new book actually, I think it was just published last year, late last year. It was talking about the history of protests, right? And it was listing the different type of protests that we go, right? Whether they're just civil ones, we just go and protest. There are the chaotic ones that have violence in it, right? And the different types of protests, and which one actually made a difference? Which one actually caused people to think? Not even that.
What about the civil rights?
That don't work either.
It did for us.
It did for us, but how long did it take for it to work? And how long ago was that?
So remember Martin Luther King also announced that
What I'm saying, his philosophy was like, we go out, we let them knock us on the head, we listen to them knock on the head as part of our protest. And Malcolm was like, no, we're going to take a gun and shoot back at them, which is kind of crossing the line. That's why we avoid politics.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I was telling Mita the other day, I was like, let's just go buy an island and just, create our own little pure land on this island, away from people, away from the chaos.
I guess the upside to that is that there's marginalized minority people that are your neighbors and work in your lives, and they're not politicians thinking in that sector. It is a political choice to make things movie and safer and surface them and to show them compassion and the things we can do here.
Mm-hmm.
Say some kind of collapse auto habits.
Right, and this goes back to worry about what you can control and let go of what you cannot, right? On a micro level, you can do a lot to help. You can do a lot to serve, the minorities or those that are less advantageous than you, right? You can do a lot of things at a micro level, but at a macro level, there's no way, right? But that's what most people want to control. Most people want to make a macro impact in the world, and that's not possible. And it can be, and it has become that, right? If you look at, like Leon said, like civil rights, that was a micro level change, and over time, right? Because it took many, many years for it to take effect, right? And so that is perfectly fine. But then you have Matt over here who wants to save the world, which is impossible, right? I'm like, you're thinking too big, think small. Worry about yourself first, save yourself first, and then work your way out. Work your way out to your family, to your friends, to your community, to your city, to your state, to your country. Move outward. Don't try to absorb the whole world and to conform to your ideology. No, work on something small first and work your way out. Okay? You're a bodhisattva, not a universe creator. You can't make that big of an impact.
What about something that, even if we start small and work our way out, we're going to affect as victim right now to climate change? Well, that's only going to affect me for X number of years. It's going to affect her and her children and my grandchildren, longer than it's going to affect me. So how do we grasp something like that? Because it's out of compassion. I want her
Mm-hmm.
to live in a better world.
Mm-hmm.
So how can we be accurate about that as a Buddhist? Because we should say it is what it is, and just let people feel about it, but it's 70 degrees in February.
Well, let me ask you this. What are you doing about it? Because you can't make these statements and like, well, I'm just concerned. Well, are you doing anything about it? That's the problem of this world. They talk about all this chaos, all this stupidity, but you're not actually doing anything about it. You're just mad. She's mad about politics. Well, what are you doing about it? You're mad about climate change. What are you doing about it? You're mad that the world can be saved. What are you doing about it? What?
You got to study the problem and figure out how to solve it. Most of the problem with climate change is stuff like the stuff that we put in our recycling containers doesn't go away.
Mm-hmm.
So even if we're doing our part, they're not doing their part.
It's true.
Pay attention to who you're supporting. Pay attention to who you're buying from. Pay attention to the stores that you're going to shop from. Because these are the people who wield a lot of power and absorb it to the point of where you lead towards an office. So when you find out that, Target and Walmart are doing the things that they're doing, why are we still shopping and providing them trash? When you find out that they are doing, that they're horrible to their employees, that they are unethical about where they get their items. But we are so concerned about what's cheaper. Okay, but so my thinking is we might not be able to affect a lot as much as we would hope to. There are small things that are effective. Withholding your money from companies that are not supporting politicians and organizations that doesn't have a mind with your personal beliefs. Making sure that you're educated about the situation, making sure that you're educated about what exactly is climate change. Because when we look at people, we also know that people don't understand the difference between climate and the weather. They think these concepts are interchangeable. In no way, shape, or form interchangeable.
We're fighting ignorance.
Yes. So fighting ignorance. And if you look at it, that is a Buddhist principle, understood. He is my Bodhisattva. He's the person that I aspire and align myself towards because he is the bringer of wisdom, the cutter of ignorance. So maintaining your education means not ignorant of the facts. When somebody asks you a question or they say something silly like, I'm so happy that this happened, you can provide them with factual information to allow them to make better choices as they move forward. So we as individuals, we might not see that we might have made a change, but the way that we speak to somebody, but the way that we provide resources and education and support in some cases, I think allows us to be able to affect a change, even if it's within our group, even if it's with the stranger that was walking down the street, that allows them to think, oh, she might have made an interesting point. Let me research that better. Our society has lost the ability to think.
So that expectations too, it comes back to, I think, Master Quang was talking about how we're worried about the world when we need to draw in the circle and get ourselves in the right space. And that's what you're talking about, is these little acts that you can do as a human being. So if we're worried about Target, we have shops people might have the expectation that everybody will stop shopping or it's going to go out of business. But that's not realistic. It's probably not going to be. So I think to your point, you're saying the same thing. Pastor Alice said, it's just what you can do yourself through mindfulness, right?
If you want a list of where you can and cannot shop, that's your lady. Since she's been here, she's stopped 3 places that I wanted to go to. To the what? Mm. Exactly. That's the reason for our suffering. Second noble truth is our attachment to desires. So you want to know why you're suffering? Look at what you are suffering over. Great. Now it's super windy. It's going to throw down everything we just put up. Okay, so we will go to transfer the merit, and then we will go to chanting. Namo Shakyamuni Buddha Namo Shakyamuni Buddha Namo Shakyamuni Buddha. For any positive karmic action we have accumulated here today, we wish to transfer the merit to all sentient beings and wish them full alignment. Is it super windy? Is it super windy? Is it? No, they're fine. They're so good. Okay, please rise. We will start page 1. You have the inking? Okay. Auspicious crowns of new
of Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, may we awaken from forgetfulness and realize our true home. Homage to the eternally abiding Buddhas, the supreme Dharma and sagely Sangha throughout the Dharma realm and the realm of empty space and free periods of time. Homage to the fundamental teacher Shakyamuni Buddha, Maitreya, modern future Buddha, Manjushri, great wisdom, Bodhisattva, universal great conduct, Bodhisattva, all Dharma guarding Deva, Bodhisattvas, and the glorious mountain assembly of Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. Homage to Amitabha Buddha in the land of ultimate bliss, Avalokiteshvara, great compassion, Bodhisattva, great strength, Bodhisattva, earth's Lord, great vow, Bodhisattva, and the assembly of great pure sea light, Bodhisattva. Listen out. The unsurpassed, profound, and wonderful Dharma is difficult to encounter in hundreds of millions of eons. I now see and hear and receive and uphold, and I vow to fathom the Namo Shakyamuni Buddha, Namo assembly of Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. Namo Lotus assembly of Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. Namo Lotus assembly of Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. The Sutra of the Lotus of the Wonderful Law, Chapter 23, the former affairs of the Bodhisattva. Medicine King at the time, Bodhisattva consolation King Flower spoke to the Buddha, saying, World honored one, how does the Bodhisattva medicine King come and go in the Saha world? World honored one, this Bodhisattva medicine King has carried out some hundreds, thousands, and thousands, millions of nayugas of difficult practice, arduous practices, very well. World honored one, could I ask you to explain a little the heavenly beings, dragons, gods, yakshas, gandharvas, asuras, garudas, kinnaras, mahuras, human and non-human beings, and the bodhisattvas who have come from, and the multitude of voice hearers will all be delighted to hear you. At the time the Buddha addressed the Bodhisattva consolation King Flower, saying, many kalpas in the past, immeasurable as Ganges sands, there was a Buddha named Sun Moon, pure bright virtue, thus come one worthy of offerings of bright and universal knowledge, perfect clarity and conduct, well gone understanding, the world gone excelled, worthy trainer of people, teacher of heavenly and human being, Buddha, world honored one, this Buddha had 80 million great bodhisattvas and mahasattvas, and a multitude of graceful to the sands of 72 Ganges. This Buddha's lifespan was 42,000 kalpas, and the lifespan of the bodhisattvas was this. In his land there were no distinction of genders, hell dwellers, hungry spirits, beasts, or asuras, and no kinds of suffer. The ground was as level as the palm of a hand, when lapis lazuli, and adorned with jeweled trees, jeweled curtains covered it over, banners of jeweled flowers hung down, and jeweled the sky rain down mandala of flowers, great mandala of flowers, and finally ground hard like particles of sandal. They filled the whole sky like clouds as they came raining down. He also rained down the incense of the sandal that grows by the southern seashore. 6 sails of this incense is worth as much as the Saha world. These he used as an offering to the Buddha. When he had finished making this offering, he rose from his samadhi and thought to himself, though I have employed my supernatural powers to make this offering to the Buddha, it is not as good as making an offering of my own body. He swallowed various perfumes, sandalwood, kundaruka, tushaka, pika, aloes, and bergamot. He also drank the fragrant oil of champaka and other kinds of flowers, doing this for a period of fully 1200 years, anointing his body with the fragrant oil. He appeared before the Buddha, sun, moon, pure, bright, wrapped his body in heavenly jeweled rose, poured fragrant oil over his, and calling on his transcendental power, set fire to his body. The glow shone forth, illuminating worlds equal in number to the sands of 80 million kanjis. The Buddhas in these worlds mutaneously spoke out in praise, saying, excellent, excellent, good man, this is true diligence, this is what is true Dharma. Offering to the thus come one, the one may use flowers, incense, necklaces, incense for burning, powdered incense, base incense, heavenly silken banners and canopies, along with the incense of the sandalwood that grows by the southern seashore, presenting such things as these he can never match. This the one made donations of his realm and cities, his wife and children. He is no match for this good man. This is called the foremost donation of all among all donations. This is most prize, for one is offering the Dharma to the thus come one. After they have spoken these words, they each fell silent. The body up 7 tala trees and proceeded to the place where the Buddha bowed his head to the ground in observance to the Buddha's feet, put the nails of his 10 fingers together and spoke this verse in praise of the Buddha. The countenance so rare and wonderful, his bright beams illuminating the 10 directions. At a previous time I made an offering, and now once more I drawn. At the time after the Bodhisattva, gladly seen by all living beings, has spoken this verse. He said to the Buddha, world honored is the world honored one, still present in the world at the time the Buddha, sun, moon, pure bright virtue, said to the Bodhisattva, gladly seen by all living beings, good man, the time has come for my nirvana, the time has come for extinction. You may provide me with a comfortable bed, for tonight will be my parinirvana. He also, Bodhisattva, gladly seen by all living beings, saying, good man, I take this law of the Buddha and entrust it to you. In addition, the Bodhisattvas and great disciples, along with the law of Anuttara Samyak Sambodhi and the 1,000 million-fold 7-jeweled world with its jeweled trees and jeweled platforms and heavenly beings, to wait on, attend them, all these I hand over to you. I also entrust you to the rest that remain after I have passed into extinction. You must distribute them abroad and arrange for offerings to them far and wide. You should erect many thousands of towers to house them. The Buddha, sun, moon, pure bright virtue, having given these commands to the Bodhisattva, gladly seen by living beings that night, the last watch of the night, entered nirvana. Chapter 24. The Bodhisattva wonderful. At the time Shakyamuni Buddha emitted a beam of bright light from the knob of flesh on top of his head, one of the features of a great man, and also emitted a beam of light from the tuft of white hair between his eyebrows, illuminating the Buddha worlds in the eastern direction, equal in number to the sands of 180,000 million ayutas of Ganges. Beyond these numerous worlds was a world called the North with pure light. In this realm there was a Buddha named Pure Flower, constellation king, wisdom, thus come one worthy of offerings of rights and universal knowledge, perfect clarity and well gone understanding, the world on excel, worthy trainer of people, teacher of heavenly and human beings, Buddha, world honored and immeasurably and boundlessly great multitude of Bodhisattvas surrounded him and paid reverence, and for these he preached the law, the beam of bright light from the white tuft of Shakyamuni Buddha. The whole land at the time, in the land adorned with pure light, there was a Bodhisattva named Wonderful Sound, who long ago had planted numerous fruits of virtue, offering alms to and waiting upon immeasurable hundreds, thousands, and thousands, millions of Buddhas. He has succeeded in obtaining all kinds of profound wisdom, gaining the samadhi of the wonderful manner, the Dharma flower samadhi, the pure virtue samadhi, the samadhi of the constellation king sport, the conditionless samadhi, the seal of wisdom samadhi, the samadhi that allows one to understand the words of all living beings, the samadhi that gathers together all benefit, the pure samadhi, the samadhi of the sport of transcendental powers, the wisdom torch samadhi, the adorned king samadhi. spoke to the Buddha, pure flower, constellation king, with saying, world honored one, I must journey to the Saha world to obeisance, wait on and offer up. Manjushri, prince of the Dharma, Bodhisattva, medicine king, Bodhisattva, brave donor, Bodhisattva, constellation king, flower, Bodhisattva, superior practices, intent, Bodhisattva, adorn king and Bodhisattva, medicine, superior, Bodhisattva, wonderful sound said to the world honored one on mind. Our world is in all respects to the power of the dust come one, a sport carried out by the dust come one's transcendental powers and adornment to the dust come one's blessings and wisdom thereupon the Bodhisattva. Wonderful sound without raising from his seat or swaying his body entered into the samadhi, and through the power of the samadhi in a place not far removed from the dark seat on the mountain Hakuta created a jeweled mass of 84,000 lotus blossoms. Their sands were made of jambudana gold, their leaves were of silver, their stamens of diamonds, and their calyxes of kumshuka jewels. At the time the Dharma Joshi, spying the lotus flower, spoke to the Buddha, saying, world honored one, what causes have brought about the appearance of this auspicious signs? Here are many 10,000s of lotus blossoms, their stems made of jambudana gold, their stamens of diamond, and their calyxes of kushumka jewels. At the time Shakyamuni said to Manjushri, this Bodhisattva and Mahasattva, wonderful sound, wishes to leave the land of the Buddha, pure flower, constellation king, wisdom, and surrounded by 84,000 Bodhisattvas, to come to the Saha world to offer alms, wait on and pay obeisance to me. He also wishes to offer alms to and hear the lotus suit. Manjushri said to the Buddha, world honored one, what gurus has this Bodhisattva planted? What benefits has he cultivated that he can exercise such great transcendental powers as this? What samadhi does he carry out? I beg you to explain for us the name of the samadhi for me to look so diligently to its practice. If we carry out this samadhi, then we will be able to observe and Bodhisattva and his bearing and conduct. We beg the world honored one to employ his transcendental powers and enable us to see him. At the time Shakyamuni Buddha said to Manjushri, many treasures thus come on who entered extinction so long ago will manifest his form for you. Then the Buddha, many treasures, said to the Bodhisattva, wonderful sound, come good. The Dharma Prince Manjushri wishes to see your body with that Bodhisattva. Wonderful sound vanished from his homeland and accompanied by 84,000 Bodhisattvas appeared here in this Saha world. The lands that he passed through on his way quaked and trembled in 6 different ways, and in all of them 7 jeweled lotus flowers rained down in the instruments of hundreds and thousands of heavenly musicians sounded of themselves without having been struck. Sattva's eyes were as big and broad as the leaves of the lotus. Moons put together could not surpass the perfection of his face. The body was pure gold in color, adorned with immeasurable hundreds and thousands of blessings. His dignity and virtue were splendid. His light shone brightly. He was endowed with many special marks as stalwart in the body as Narayana, taking his place on the platform made of 7 treasures. He had risen up into the air until he was raised above the earth, the height of 7 tala trees, with a host of bodhisattvas surrounding him and paying reverence. He joined the Mount Githakuta in the Saha world. When he arrived there, he descended from the platform of 7 treasures, bearing a necklace worth hundreds and thousands. He proceeded to the place where Shakyamuni Buddha bowed his head to the ground, made obeisance to the Buddha's feet, and presented the necklace, addressing the Buddha in these words: world honored, the Buddha, pure flower, consolation, king, wisdom, wishes to inquire about the world honored one. Are your illnesses few? Are your worries few? Can you come and go easily and conveniently? Can you move about in comfort? Are the 4 elements properly harmonized in you? Can you endure the world's affairs? Are the living easy to rescue? Are they not excessive in their greed, anger, ignorance, jealousy, stinginess, and arrogance? Are they not lacking in filial conduct for their parents? Are they respectful towards shamanas and given to wrong views and other evil? Do they not fail to control their 5 emotions? World honored, are the living beings able to conquer and overcome the enmity of the devils? Has many treasures those come on who entered extinction so long ago? Come in his tower of 7 treasures to listen to the law. The Buddha also wishes to inquire about many treasures, thus come on, whether he is tranquil and at ease with few worries, patient and long abiding. World honored, I would like to see the body of the I beg the world honored one to allow me to see him. At the time Shakyamuni Buddha said, too many treasures, Buddha, this bodhisattva, wonderful sound, wishes to see you. Buddha addressed, wonder inexhaustible intent and verse. Listen to the actions of the perceiver of sounds, how aptly he responds in various quarters. His vast oath is deep as the ocean, called past, but it remains unfathomable. He has attended many thousands and millions of Buddhas, setting forth his brave pure vow. I will describe him in outline for you. Listen to his name, observe his body, bear him in, not passing the time mainly, for he can wipe out the pains of existence. Suppose someone should conceive a wish to harm you, should push you into a great pit of fire. Think on the power of receiver of sounds, and the pit of fire will change into a pond. If you should be cast adrift on the vast ocean, menaced by dragons, fish, and various demons, think on the power of the perceiver of the billows and waves cannot drown you. Suppose you are on the peak of Mount Sumeru and someone pushes you off. Think on the power of the perceiver of sounds, and you will hang in midair like the sun. Suppose you are pursued by evil men who wish to throw you down from a diamond mount. Think on the power of the perceiver of sounds, and they cannot harm a hair of you. Suppose you are surrounded by evil-hearted men, each brandishing a knife to wound you. Think on the power. Once all will be swayed by compassion. Suppose you encounter trouble with the king's law, face punishment, about to forfeit your life. Think on the power of the perceiver of sounds, and the executioner's sword will be broken to bits. Suppose you are in prison, in cage, unlocked, hands and feet bound by fetters and chains. Think on the power of that perceiver of sounds, and they will fall off, leaving you free. Suppose with curses and various poisonous herbs someone should try to injure you. Think on the power of that perceiver of sounds, and injury will rebound upon the originator. Suppose you encounter evil rakshasas, poison dragons, and various demons. Think on the power of that perceiver of them will dare to harm you if evil beasts should encircle you. Their sharp fangs and claws inspiring terror. Think on the power of that perceiver of sounds, and they will scamper away in boundless retreat. If lizards, snakes, vipers, scorpions threaten you with breath that sears like flame, think on the power of that perceiver of sounds, and hearing your voice they will flee of themselves. If clouds should bring thunder and lightning strike, if hell belts or drenching rain comes down, think on the power that perceiver of sounds, and then vanish away. If living beings encounter weariness or peril, immeasurable suffering pressing them down, the power of the perceiver of sounds, wonderful wisdom can save them from the sufferings of the world. He is endowed with transcendental powers and widely practices the obedient means of wisdom throughout the lands and the 10 directions. There is no region where he does not manifest himself in any different kinds of evil circumstance. In the realms of hell, hungry spirits or beasts, the sufferings of birth, old age, sickness, and death, all these could be wipes out. He of the true gaze, the pure gaze, the gaze of great and encompassing wisdom, the gaze of pity, the gaze of compassion. Constantly we implore him, constantly look up in reverence. His pure life, free of blemish, is a son of wood, dispelling all darkness. He can quell the wind and fire of misfortune, and everywhere bring light to the world. The precepts from his compassionate body you should bow your head to him. At the time the Bodhisattva earth holder immediately rose from his seat, advanced and said to the Buddha, world on earth, if there are living beings who hear this chapter on Bodhisattva, perceiver of the world, sounds on the freedom of his actions, his manifestation of a universal gateway and his transcendental powers, it should be known that the benefits these persons gain are not few. When the Buddha preached this chapter on the universal gateway, a multitude of 84,000 persons in the assembly all conceived they determined to attain the unparalleled state of Anuttara Samyak Sambodhi. Tab 9, page 171. Heart of the Pasha Paramita, the Bodhisattva Avalokita, while moving in the deep course of Pasha Paramita, shed light on the past skandhas and found them equally empty. After this penetration, he overcame ill-being, bliss, and shoddy. Both the form is emptiness, emptiness is form, form is not other than emptiness, and not other than form. The same is true with feelings, perception, mental formations, and consciousness. Listen, shoddy, both all dharmas are marked with emptiness. They are neither produced nor destroyed, neither defiled nor immaculate, neither increasing nor decreasing. Therefore, in it there is neither form nor feeling, so perception nor mental formations or consciousness, no eye or ear or nose or tongue or body or mind, no form, no sound, no smell, no taste, no touch, no object of mind, no realms of elements, no interdependent origin, no extinction of them, no ill-being, no cause of ill-being, no end of ill-being, and no path, no understanding, no attainment, because there is no attainment. The Bodhisattva grounded in Amita find no obstacles for their minds, having no obstacles they overcome fear, liberating themselves forever from illusion and realizing perfect nirvana. All Buddhas in the past, present, and future arrive at Anuttara Samyak Sambodhi. Therefore one should know that understanding is the highest mantra, the unequal mantra, the destroyer of ill-being, the incorruptible truth. The mantra of Pasha Paramita should therefore be proclaimed. Gate Gate Pada Gate Pada Sam Gate Bodhi Swaha Gate Gate Pada Gate Pada Sam Gate Bodhi Swaha Gate Gate Pada Gate Pada Sam Gate Bodhi Swaha. mercy like Bodhisattvas. Namo Deva guarding Bodhisattvas. Namo Deva guarding Bodhisattvas. Namo Deva guarding Bodhisattvas. I take refuge in the Buddha, the one who shows me the way in this life. I take refuge in the Dharma, the way of understanding and of love. I take refuge in the Sangha, the community that lives in harmony and awareness. Dwelling in the refuge of Buddha, I clearly see the path of light and beauty in the world. Dwelling in the refuge of Dharma, I learn to open many doors on the path of transformation. Dwelling in the refuge of Sangha, shining like the support beam, keeping my practice free of
we're having our Lunar New Year celebration this Tuesday at 8 p.m. So I invite you all to please join us, bring your friends, bring your family. It's our biggest celebration holiday of the year, so it'll be very much festive and funnish, loud, with firecrackers. But yes, this will be this Tuesday at 8 p.m. Thank you.